In today's episode, real life stories and practical strategies for women to reclaim control over their health, longevity, and well-being at any age. What if your biggest health breakthrough came after 50 and you could thrive for decades to come? Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast. I'm Edward Curtin, here with co-hosts Chuck the Cat Whisperer. Where's the cat today, Chuck? And
I lock it away, so we
Kindness.
give her that nickname.
Today we're joined by the remarkable Mary-Anne Bennett, a clinical nutritionist and women's health advocate whose journey from a challenging medical diagnosis at 50 to a wellness leader is truly inspiring. If you're ready to take charge of your health, bust myths, and discover lifelong vitality, this episode is for you. Mary-Anne empowers women to tune into their bodies, advocate for themselves, and combine science with natural wisdom for real results.
Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast, your ultimate path to holistic health, wellness, and success. Discover the powerful fusion of Eastern wisdom and Western science, designed to balance your mind, body, and spirit. Our channel brings you holistic wellness practices, effective strategies to boost productivity, and insights on stress reduction and active aging. Join our global community and transform your life with holistic wellness. Cheers to a healthier, happier you.
Mary-Anne, you didn't just study nutrition, you lived it. Would you mind walking us through your journey from your diagnosis to becoming a health science graduate and practitioner?
Of course. I don't ever remember having really good health, having chronic migraines, digestive issues, and of that my life. But I always soldiered on. Had kids, had grandkids. And through the ups and downs of life, I realized that it had to get better. So when I met my current husband, 2 failed marriages, so I'm on husband number 3. I finally got to the point where financially I could stop worrying about money, and life had gotten easy for the first time. But then I started struggling with my health. I had chronic pain. I had chronic sleep issues. I would wake up in the morning exhausted and go to bed even more exhausted. I spent probably 5 years going back and forth to doctors, and no one really had an idea about what was going on. And then I read an article in the newspaper that said fibromyalgia. Oh my God. It was like that story was written about me. So getting the diagnosis I thought that was going to be the beginning of the healing journey. But what it was the specialist that I saw said to me, well, we can give you this drug or that drug, and if that one doesn't work, we can give you another one. And I remember looking at him and thinking, that can't be the only solution. And when I said to him, well, what else can I do? Diet, exercise? Oh, none of that. You have to live with it for the rest of your life. And I was gobsmacked. At the time, I was 46. My son had just had newborn twins, and I was devastated. So I wanted my life back. But I made a decision that day that I had handed over my responsibility of my health to the doctors. And I stepped up that day and said, I've got to do this for myself. So I spent a few years going back and forwards. I thought natural health had to be the way I go. I saw a naturopath. I saw an integrative doctor, and I tried lots of different modalities, and massage and Reiki and acupuncture and all the healing, but I really didn't get anywhere. Didn't ever really think that there was anything else that I could do, and didn't know anything about nutrition. And heard an advert on the radio that said, come and study nutrition, when I was driving to work one day, and I went, well, what if I could just learn one thing? If I could go along to this open day and just learn one thing. Well, 5 minutes after I walked in the door, I was signing the paperwork, and it was the year I turned 50. So I was 49 and a half years old. By then, a grandparent of 6. We had four adult children and 2 teenagers still at home. And it was like, well, what had I done? So I left school at 16, pregnant. So I had my first child at 17. So I hadn't studied for years. But what I learned going to university was how amazing the human body was. And that if you just give it the right environment, if you just give it the right food, the right mindset, that it can heal itself. So I spent 5 years at uni, graduated in 2018 with a degree, and with the idea of just learning how to heal myself. I had no intention of going out into business now or going and helping anybody else. Because the year I finished my university degree, my husband retired after 45 years in a corporate job. I was under no pressure to actually go out and something inside of me that had opened up when I started studying and realized that if I could help myself, how many other women out there were just like I was, were getting sicker, not better, and had no one to help them. So I set off on a journey in 2019 to help as many women as I could take back control of their health and heal.
Wow. Mary-Anne, I love what you said. Um, I- I've noticed a trend that when we, especially as women, when we are facing a challenge and we heal ourselves and we go through a process, it kind of seems like it's inevitable that we are going to turn around and share this information and end up being a guide for somebody else.
All of our other responsibilities come first, and we never put our health at the top of the priority list. And that's not to say, I mean, I have some amazing men in my life. I've got an amazing husband. We've got 3 amazing sons and now 7 amazing grandsons. So I love health as a whole, but I realized that it was women, that were the ones that really needed the help.
Yeah. Have you noticed in working, how many years did you say that you've been in this process of working with women?
I've just kicked over into year 8 in my business.
Okay. Have you noticed that there seems to be a really strong theme that we can almost stick our finger out and turn in a circle? And if we point to a woman, that she's struggling with a lot of the same things as other women. Have you found that?
I think so. Yes. I think that as women, we're used to soldiering on, just to put one foot in front of the other. And no matter what life throws at us, we deal with it the best we can. It's like that duck underwater. We look like we're doing okay on the surface, but underneath, mentally and physically, it's having an impact that most women ignore for a very long period of time.
I think that's a theme here in America too, to keep powering, or you keep saying soldiering on. I think that's a really great way to put it. And we soldier on and we crash our bodies. And women, in the sense that we're different than men, we are not built to handle stress in the body in the same. And really, I noticed with women, one of the first things that is under siege is the adrenals. And all of the, there's a whole cascade of problems from there. And it's directly showing us that we're doing a lot and it's too much for us to handle and it's breaking us down.
Yeah. I guess, the stress system is designed to keep us safe. If we were in prehistoric times, we would be running from a saber-toothed tiger or trying to escape the other tribe who wanted to take over our land. These days, the stresses are everyday stresses that compound over a long period of time. It's money stress, it's kid stress, it's job stress, it's the commitments that we make that we never ever give the body a physical break, and the nervous system never gets a chance to slow down and reset. I mean, it's supposed to ramp up when we're under threat, then slow down, but it never does. It sits at that. Then the nervous system sits at as high a stress point so that it never ever really truly relaxes. And the impact of that long term on physical health is immense.
Yeah.
Mary-Anne, thank you for telling and sharing your story. I'm curious. As you saw, I had half of my family sitting on my lap while you were describing that story. I missed the part of where you mentioned that when you were 46, I believe, that you were diagnosed with something. What, if you don't mind repeating that? What was that?
I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue.
Okay.
In
Gotcha.
40.
Gotcha. And you, bless your heart for going to the school. Some people would probably just do the opposite and think and believe what the doctor said and just move on with the pain and the discomfort of all that. So when you went to school, you said you went through 6 years of university?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I studied with everything from 17-year-olds to 70-year-olds. I felt like I was old, but I really wasn't the oldest person there.
Okay. And how are you applying that? Are you working in a clinical setting?
I work for myself.
Okay.
Well, I guess my focus in the beginning was helping people with chronic health issues, because I knew that in my journey, I had struggled to find a doctor or a practitioner that truly understood what was really going on with health, and that health is more complex than just giving somebody, a healthy diet plan. But it just naturally progressed that women were drawn to me. There is a lot of divide in the health and wellness space, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about just how complex women's bodies are.
Okay. Yeah.
Mary-Anne, I'm curious, what part of your studies did you realize that you healed yourself?
I guess I still think it's a work in progress. What I realised was the body gives you signs a long time before you get a chronic health diagnosis. And I realised that I didn't really know a lot about what healthy eating was. I didn't really know what the body needed. I used food as a way to have energy and to keep going, causing the result. I have to premise that with, I also, prior to going to study, spent 30 years as a commercial and domestic cleaner. So being chronically exposed to cleaning chemicals with no understanding about the impact of those on my physical health. Part of along my journey in the first couple of years when I was at university, had my genes tested. So what I realized in the end was my health problems were caused by a lot by my diet and lifestyle from my job, but there were also some underlying genetic reasons why. Is that an excuse? No, it's not. It's just I wanted a clear understanding of what was driving my health problems so then I could do something about it.
So is that what you teach in your practice, that this is, ongoing, that these are radical lifestyle changes?
I guess that's the biggest understanding is that for my clients is that they have to stand up and take notice of what their body's telling them, understand how the body works, because it gives you signs and symptoms, and sometimes it does take radical changes. I mean, I gave up alcohol for 5 years. I now drink socially, but I'm now more conscious of where. I'm really conscious of what I eat every day. Does that mean I eat healthy every day? Absolutely not. But it's also about understanding that the body is a whole system. We can't just look at, do you need a healthy diet? How is your mindset on top of all of that? Because what we know about the mind and emotions is that if you're living in a space of constant stress, the impact that the mind and emotions can have on the physical health. You've probably heard the terms of lifespan and health span. We all know that medical science is keeping us alive longer. But to what detriment? The statistics in Australia is that a woman will live to an average age of 87, but she'll spend 10 to 11 years of those with declining health. Like, why would we not want to actually make those choices every day that can help us live a longer and healthier life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
Yeah. To me, I think that what's so interesting is that our unhealth seems to be quite linked to our disconnection from ancient wisdom, from tradition, from connection to the earth. It's kind of like all the things we need to take away are the things we never needed in the first place. And it seems like, and you might see it a little bit different of a way, but that's kind of what I'm picking up on, that you brought up even alcohol. Obviously, even alcohol through history has changed over time. Now it's very strong. It's filled with a lot of sugar. We have insulin issues. It's not the only thing we're doing, right? We're also eating fast food. We're drinking coffee. We're doing all these things. And it seems like so much of the work that we need to do and what we need to help to bring people on board with is to remove all of the things that maybe we're not really meant to be having all the time. So can you speak to that? Do you agree with that? And what is the response in Australia? Because I am curious if it's different than here.
You're correct, Carrie. The biggest problem that I find when clients first come to me is that as a culture, we're living in a time where food is abundant. So in the past, we ate only what we grew. We could only eat what was available. We expect everything to be available all day. Every time you go to a supermarket, you expect every different type of fruit and vegetable. Here in Australia, people eat foods that are devoid of nutrients but full of calories. So we're fueling our body with food that keeps us alive, but we're not giving the body the nutrition to give us health. It is going to send us down a pathway of chronic illness and disease. The very few things that a naturopath said to me back about 10 years ago was I would have to give up coffee. And I remember saying to her, and I still say to this day, I'd much rather cut my arm off than give up coffee. Having said that, I'm dairy intolerant, so I don't drink cow's milk, because coffee in moderation can actually be good for you. And I'm talking real coffee.
Right.
Real coffee from real coffee beans. I'm not talking about this stuff you find in a jar, but in moderation. When it comes to food and coffee and alcohol, everything in moderation, and having that understanding of that beyond moderation, you can be doing damage to your body.
Yeah. And if Australia is anything like America, we're starting our day with enormous cups of coffee loaded with sugar and these fake creamers that you put in. They're loaded with seed oils. And by afternoon, we need a second cup. I mean, there's a lot of people in America that go from one cup to another through the entire day.
Mary-Anne, one thing you mentioned before is that you learned a lot about your own health by experiencing a journey yourself. What are like the top 3 things that are like red flags where people think they're exposed to something, but these are certain things they should really pay attention to?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is the diet myth. It's about understanding is that there is no one diet that is best for your metabolism. There is no one diet because you've got different genetics, you've got different lifestyle, you've got different things. I guess the next one is that everybody's body is different. And if you don't work with your body, if you listen to what the medical profession, people get stuck thinking that doctors will fix them. And that's the biggest reality is going to the doctor. The hospital or a doctor will keep you alive if you've got a life-threatening illness. So if you've got cancer and you have cancer treatment, if you've had a heart attack, it'll keep you alive. But really the responsibility for your health is yours. Take control of your own health, understand what's truly going on. We go to the doctor and we take a medication and that will change things. Yeah, it will change things. It might reduce a symptom, but it won't cure the disease. And biochemically, medications make a difference. My example is that PPIs or reflux drugs that here in Australia are the second most prescribed drug. What is the impact on those drugs on the actual physical body? Well, it changes digestion, it changes stomach acid, it stops mineral absorption. So in women, we now have an epidemic of osteopenia and osteoporosis. So knowing that, is that don't just take a drug once and then get prescribed a drug and take it for the rest of your life. Try and really understand what it is that it's doing to your body. Because is it helping your reflux? Sure. Will statins lower your cholesterol? Sure. But what else is happening? So it's really about understanding that you are the driver of your health, and the only one that can make a difference is you really understanding how your body functions and what the things that you're doing and what the things you're putting in it are doing to it.
Carrie, you saw my head shake when she was talking about that. I know you have some passionate thoughts about
low stomach acid. Yeah, I do. I'm very passionate about this topic. I've had this conversation hundreds, if not thousands of times. I agree with you. I think that it is just a shame. It's the opposite way that we need to go. You should never be lowering your stomach acid. You will not break down protein. You will not absorb minerals. You will not activate the gallbladder to excrete bile. So now you can break down fat-soluble vitamins. You're also sending non-sterile, undigested food into the small intestines, causing cancer. I mean, everything about it from top to bottom. And those medications are actually only masking the reality, which is you need to raise your stomach acid so that the heart sphincter valve will close and you wouldn't need any medicine at all. And now you can break down your food and have proper bowel movements and live a long, healthy life. So I love that you said that. I bring it up constantly. And it's completely true. I don't know the numbers and the statistics in America, that I can tell you I can walk outside and throw a stone and hit somebody that's taking medication to lower stomach acid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I've dealt with 3 women in the last 2 weeks coming to me because they've been diagnosed with osteopenia. One woman has been on PPIs for 12 years. And her bone density has continued to go down, and the doctors have blamed it on menopause.
Right. Yes. And it does seem, this is interesting because I think we're starting to awaken or to come back to the reality that our body is created to heal itself. Okay. It is created to function perfectly. And when you get a cut or you get a bruise, your body takes care of that. But then we think that we need these things outside of us to fix, and then we'll believe that breaking down completely is just a part of the natural cycle of life. It is not. If we went into South America or maybe parts in Africa, probably parts of Australia, we're going to find people in tribes that are 100 years old. They're still chopping wood, carrying water, building teepees, working from morning to night. So obviously the breakdown of our body is, one, not a mystery. It's being induced. And 2, it can absolutely be healed, which is what you are preaching. We can heal this, but we have to the way I say it is, we have to think like an ancient. We need to go back. We need to remember. Connect to the earth. What does my body need? What's the difference between a need and a want? What is normal? Is everybody having osteoporosis normal? No, it's not. So let's get to some real answers. Why is this even happening? I agree with you. I think that the low stomach acid is a huge driving factor in that. And then we go to the doctor and then they say, well, you're just menopausal. Well, it's not normal to be this out of whack.
I was just going to kind of give a story to kind of go along with what we're talking about here. When I graduated college, I was diagnosed because I would sleep through my 11 a.m. classes in my senior year. Like, no, I wasn't partying all night. I just could not wake up at 11 a.m. So I went and saw my primary doctor in college, and they had a boatload of questions. And after a few months, they diagnosed me with Hashimoto's disease. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. And the diagnosis came with a prescription. They said, hey, this is weird because 1 out of every 10,000 men get this, but 1 out of every 1,000 women get it. So that made me feel awesome. And then they were like, here's a pill. You'll just need to take this for the rest of your life and then see an endocrinologist once or twice a year to make sure it's at the right levels. Not once did they bring up diet. Not once did they bring up the toxins that were in my environment. They didn't bring up anything that would give me any indication that I could take control of this and reverse it. So fast forward last year, go see my primary care physician for a checkup, and they felt the lump in my throat, and that turned out to be thyroid cancer. And then I went real deep down the path of functional medicine and prevention and trying to heal myself. And then I discovered and learned what you're talking about here, which is it's better to take care of this before it becomes a major issue. That all the things that I could have done if I would have maybe dug deep into this 20 plus years ago when I first got Hashimoto's could have reduced the issues that I was having then that would not have led to the disease that I ended up getting diagnosed with last year. But it was really boiled down to everything you're talking about, which is taking control of what my body needed and putting the right things in my body and on my body that wouldn't allow my body to have inflammation and cause the issues that it has. So you're so right. And I think the other aha moment that I had that I've shared a lot on this channel is there's a difference. We have to understand there's a difference between what our primary care doctors, our traditional doctors that we trust are going to give us recommendations on, versus what a functional doctor would. They're looking at it through two different lenses. And I really strongly urge people, if this is the first time you're hearing me talk about this, and I would imagine, Mary-Anne, you're gonna reiterate this. You should really see both. You should see a primary care physician because they're gonna look at things and it's covered through your health insurance. But you should pay, because if not, you'll pay later to go see a functional doctor, because they're gonna look at it through a prevention lens, and they're not gonna recommend statins. They're not gonna recommend that you put pills over the counter in your body to help with acid reflux. They're gonna look deeper than that, and they're gonna find things that you're doing in your daily life that are causing that and prevent it from continuing to getting worse. So there's my soapbox.
I guess the one thing that I actually wish was happening in Australia that you have in America is functional doctors. We have what we call integrative, very few integrative doctors. Basically, they do functional medicine, but there are so few of them. We don't have the option. I'm a huge fan of my hero in the functional medicine world in America is Dr. Mark Hyman. Mark Hyman, I've lived and breathed his content. Dr. Ben Lynch, when I was looking at my genes, Dr. Carrie Fitzgerald. I love so many of the doctors you have there in America. We don't have them here. I saw an integrative doctor for about a year after I got diagnosed, and his idea was hundreds of dollars worth of compounded supplements that were at so high with that ended up with neuropathic pain and peripheral neuropathy. So my experience with an integrative doctor was very bad, and I've had since spoken to other people. So I guess in Australia we have a lot of clinical nutritionists, a lot of naturopaths, and that's the path that a lot of people that I know go down, because from my experience, the medical system here is about preventing death and aging. The chronic health statistics in women here in Australia is that one in every 500 women over 30 has at least one chronic illness. How is that happening in women 30 and over? I really took a deep dive into my own health and then realized that there is so much more that you can do if you just step up and do that preventative stuff. Another one of the catalysts for me is I lost my dad when he was 59 years old from a massive heart attack. And he'd been doing all the things the doctor told him, taking the medication, living the life that they told him to do. But he was terribly unhappy. And then he just dropped down dead. So he'd been seeing a doctor for 20 years and he still died. So the doctors can help you, but to what point? The body has those subtle signs, those few aches and pains that increase, the rough night's sleep, that headache that comes and doesn't go away. If you hear a woodpecker tapping on your wall and you go, I'll just ignore that, eventually it's going to keep tapping and it's going to get louder and louder and louder and louder before you got a hole in the wall and everything is falling apart. So if we do that, that premise on our own body, if we listen right from the beginning. I mean, I had signs and symptoms. I just soldiered on. I didn't know the difference. Now my passion is to actually help prevent them going down the path of getting a chronic health diagnosis by understanding what it is they need to do, what it is their body can tell them. The wisdom, as Carrie would know, the wisdom that the body holds, we can utilize and to help us live as long and as healthy a life as we want, because it's possible for everybody.
Mary-Anne, earlier on you talked about the prevalence of people taking antacids as one of the main prescriptions that people have in Australia. Metamucil is another one I heard of, like a dietary fiber. Like these are two things, like antacids and dietary fiber are two things that people put into their body as a second step after something has happened. Like they're not really paying attention to what caused the first thing that happened, right? We live in like a hedonistic society where we go for the pleasure first and then we'll deal with the pain later. So I'm going to have my huge steak dinner with the gravy and all the trimmings and everything on it, and then I'm going to get acid reflux. That's okay, I'll take the acid thing later. But they're not looking at where does it come from? And the same with the dietary fiber as well. They'll eat their ice creams and cakes and candies and their frappe lattes and everything all day long. And then they can't go to the toilet for 3 days. So they're going to take some dietary fibers. So can you maybe just talk about those causes and effects? What are we doing to our body that's bringing us to the point where we're saying, oh, I need to take a supplement or I need to get a prescription? And how do we address that issue mentally as well as dietary?
Everything is stress, where everything is on the go 100% of the time. So we're eating badly, we're sleeping badly. The body never relaxes enough to actually for it to function well. The reason why someone's not going to be able to use their bowels for 3 days is because the food that they're eating doesn't contain the fiber it needs to move through. If you're staying constipated for 3 days, your body's reabsorbing toxins into the body. So it's about understanding what is it the body needs for everything to be able to function really well. What it needs is for you to understand how your body works, understand what it really needs. It needs healthy food, it needs healthy habits. It needs hydration. I mean, the people spend all day drinking tea and coffee and soft drinks, but when do they actually go back to drinking water that can help the body be balanced? Because we're the body's 60% water, and we're filling it full of sugar, which then just causes the opposite problem. It doesn't cause hydration; it causes dehydration. So it's about looking at what are the foods that you can eat every day. It's about going back to fruit and vegetables. What is the body? Everything we need, we can get from a plant. Meat is something that I don't either say yes or no to. In moderation, organic grass-fed beef in Australia. I assume we have that in the US. Organic, got an organic butcher about half an hour from here. Organic fruit and vegetable grower. There's a lady in the hills that I get a fruit and veggie box from every week with our organic veggies. So it's about understanding that if you do the right things with your diet and your lifestyle, you don't need those supplements. You won't get those symptoms, and you won't get to the point where you need a medication.
Mary-Anne, you did speak earlier about that you've learnt a lot about yourself and your health. You've also studied science. Just want to throw a caveat into our show here. We are not anti-science or anti-medicine. Medicine has enabled humanity to survive and thrive. It's been incredible. But we're looking for how do we embrace nature and medicine and find the balance between them to optimize?
I guess from my perspective, I mean, I love the science. I love the science of the human body and understanding that medicine has gotten us to this point. And there's some of the amazing research that's coming out in longevity. It's amazing. So I love the fact that we can do that. I can blend what I've learned about how medicine has gotten us to here, but then going and understanding that medicine will keep us alive. But a lot of it has to do with us. What is it we can do with what we know, and how can we blend that with natural health and natural science? Because there's a lot of natural medicine. As Carrie said, if we go back to ancient wisdom of the tribes, it's all about connecting. It's all about health. It's all about what we eat, what we put on our body.
Well, from my viewpoint, I want to see people come away from the medical system to the highest degree possible. And I think that as far as the medical system goes, like emergency life-saving treatments is realistically what it is about, because it's not health. It is not about health at all. And so if you're in a severe car accident and you need trauma care, I think that's a great place to go. I think we have a big, huge issue in science. And the issue, guys, it's called money. It is actually so overwhelming and so confusing. And even when we think we know something and every person in a white lab coat told us it was true, just wait 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you will find out that the exact opposite has been proven true by the methods that they utilized, thinking that they knew the way. And so to me, I'm a radical, I am an extremist, and I believe in going back to nature completely. Honestly, there's so many amazing things scientifically that we can know. I love peptides. I work with peptides so much. It's amazing. It is science. But if we took that away, if we could took all the things away, and the science isn't just in the medical industry, we have the same scientist engineering our food to literally be addictive, to make us, it's literally generating income for the medical industry because they're making you sick with the poison food that is not food, that it mimics and seems like food. And then you're a customer for life. And then in America, in the end, we tax your death, guys. I want us out of these systems completely. If you don't have a body part falling off, we can do it naturally, and we can use wisdom in what we do know to come to an understanding what's going on. And yes, it's a different path because there will always be some trial and error. And we have to learn what's going to work for this person, what's going to not. The one part that I definitely can advocate in the modern world that we're living in, we are a mess. And one of the things science and the medical industry have brought us is illumination on what's going on inside the body. Right? So we can have MRIs, we can have X-rays. And then even as I say that, guys, MRIs and X-rays, this stuff is radiation. This stuff isn't good for you. We could say, well, we can have a colonoscopy. Will colonoscopies perforate bowels and cause cancer and leak what's in your bowel into your inner cavity? Even then, it's like, okay, well, what about blood work? Well, in America, like we've talked about, functional medicine or a naturopathic doctor, you're going to take them your blood work from the medical industry or from Quest Diagnostic. And the first thing they're going to do is put it in a new piece of software and give you the reality. Because if you're having your blood tested, who's having their blood tested is sick people. And so those become the standard numbers, and they're not even reality. We've been given a lot of tests. Now, one you'll be marketed a lot in America on social media is like stool testing for your gut microbiome. Well, when that first happened, everybody thought this was going to be revolutionary. We're going to know what's going on with our gut microbiome. Guys, it's meaningless. If you're listening, do not take these tests. It's meaningless. Your gut microbiome is communicating at all times, and it is adjusting and shifting absolutely constantly with everything you eat, with your emotions. We know now that you can take 10 stool tests in a day and have 10 different microbiomes if you were to consume that much or have that much experience. Obviously, that's not an everyday reality, but it is a reality. And so even where we're going with diagnostic tools, I'm still saying I like the ancient ways. I like coming back to nature. I like completely cleaning up the diet. I like fasting, guys. Guys, through history, we often ate one meal every 3 days. We fasted all the time. If you're fasting, your body is going to heal itself, and you have the indwelling ability to do that. So to me, I want to see us come back to true connection with ourselves, true connection with Pachamama, with the earth, and not be so caught up in all the medical stuff. For me, I want to see it left for life-saving, or if something truly, truly makes sense. But like we just discussed, it might truly make sense now, and in 5 years, it doesn't make any sense at all. And we believe everything they say is actually very, very confusing. So I'd like to see us pull away from it.
I mentioned at the beginning of the episodes, I live in a very, very large city in China, Guangzhou. It's one of the 4 super cities. The population is about 25 million. I think it's more than the entire country of Australia. But my fiance, her family comes from a smaller village that's not far away. It's about an hour travel away from Guangzhou. So I'm in that village now. And every time I come here, it's really like a decompression. You know, in the big city, you've got a lot of people around you. You've got a lot of tall buildings. You've got a lot of concrete. Everything's fast moving, a lot of noise, the cars, the traffic, and just the productivity of society. But when you come here, you see a few e-bikes, you see people walking on the road. There's old ladies selling their farm vegetables on the side of the roads. You can walk along and pick up your vegetables in the morning. Like everything just slows down and becomes natural and truly organic. And Livia's mama, she raises her own chicken. She grows her own vegetables. She's always got some type of soup cooking on the stove every single day. And we're always drinking that broth from the soup every single day. And my fiance has learnt that habit as well. She's always got some soups cooking. And I really believe my health has improved a lot over the time that I've been exposed to this and living like this. Not everyone has the opportunity to go back to the village, but we do have opportunities to make choices in our everyday life, what we're buying, what we're eating, what we're cooking, how we're using mindfulness while we are consuming food. A lot of people are just shoveling calories into their body without even thinking about it. But the exact same calories eaten a different way, in a mindful way and a respectful way and a gratitude way, can also change how that works in your body. Is that correct, Carrie? You know more about that than I do.
Absolutely. You just hit the nail on the head. You're not trying. These people in the village where you are, they're not trying. They don't need blood work. They don't need a doctor. They are healthy. And in fact, when you were talking, I was thinking, oh, of course, Ed's in China, where you have TCM, right? And when you go to a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, they don't ask for your blood work. They look at your tongue. Number one, tongue will indicate so much. They take your pulse and they feel how strong, what kind of pulse. Is it strong? Is it weak? Does it feel like a guitar being strong, right? They're going to question you. They're going to start narrowing it down. Is it heat? Is it damp? Is there too much metal? Is there too much wood? And they're going to use ancient wisdom. They're going to put needles in the right place. They're going to match herbs that cool heat or dry damp or whatever it is. Zero blood work needed. And they've been doing it for thousands of years. Zero testing needed. They just looked at the body. So yeah, I think it's happening organically where you are right now in particular in this village. We don't have sick people. We have elderly people in good health, still gardening, keeping a pot of soup on the stove all the time, taking care. They don't have the stress. I know Mary-Anne keeps bringing up the stress. We are not built for stress in this sense to be 24/7. Men can handle it far, far superior than women. But when we unplug, when we leave, a really wise naturopath, you might come and I've got adrenal fatigue. This is a crisis in America amongst women. We've got adrenal fatigue, we've got these different things. And a doctor that's not invested, that's not looking for money might say, hey, the best thing you could do would be, can you take 3 months off and hang out on the beach? Just rest on the beach. Miracles will happen for you. Breathe in that salt air. It's going to clean out your lungs, going to start cleaning the lymphatic system as we pull that in. We put our feet in the earth. We draw all those minerals out of the ocean. We got the sunshine coming down. We don't have any stress. And you just can't believe what will happen in your body. And of course, there's a place for people like me and Mary-Anne. That's not a reality for people. Not everybody gets to take a holiday like you're doing right now in China. Not everybody can take time off and go to a beach. And so there is a place, but I know I've never reached for anything from the medical industry and anybody I've ever served. In fact, when they come telling me their medications, I let them know, I don't know what those are. I don't know anything about that. You'll have to check, on your own or determine on your own. But I can talk to you about natural solutions and we can actually get to the bottom of what is going on. Why are you in this cycle? And how can we use nature to heal?
Speaking from a men's perspective, if I get together with my brothers or my good mates once a season, once every 3 months for a barbecue and beers, we debrief, we chat, we talk shit. That feels like a good decompress, and then for the next few months we're all good. But for ladies, it's certainly different. And I observe it here in the village. All of the old ladies from the village come over to Mama's home every day from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. They play cards together, they drink tea together, they talk shit together. They're in that really social environment and they are super happy and they're laughing their heads off. Some of them have got no teeth and it's really, really hilarious to see, but really beautiful to see. And likewise, my fiance, she's every day I hear her on the phone talking to her sisters and talking to her mom and talking to her friends. Like ladies, I believe, require much more of a community debriefing and socializing than men do to keep that stableness. Is that correct?
Women connect on a deeper emotional level together and you can talk to, you feel the same way. You think, a lot of women think the same way. I work from home and I have my husband here all the time. We're like you said, Ed, he can go to the pub and have a beer with his mates once a week and that's enough connection for him. For me, it feels like it's just a way of, I need that bond that I have between my female friends. We get each other without even having to say, and it's the ability to say things to your friends or your sisters that you just don't, that men just don't get. I don't know. It's hard for me to quantify, but it's just that feeling that when you're with other women, I'm a member of a couple of different women's business groups because women in business are more emotional and we do it from our heart. I don't always go on what's logically best for me or for my business. I go on what is emotional. So for me, it's about connection. I just think that women connect differently. I don't know about what you feel about that, Carrie.
Well, I think I'm going to quantify it. You said it was hard to quantify. Here I come, sister. I'm going to quantify it. So you actually spoke about, like you said, you feel like it goes back to like the tribes. I've given this a lot of thought. Women were together. They were at home. They were raising the children. The men go out for the hunt. Women are not invited, nor should they be there. They're nothing but a distraction. And they go away. Women stay and the men bring back the food and the women lovingly prepare it and they serve everyone. But something else I think really, really important is happening when women and children are together. We are passing on stories and history and teaching and training. And I believe we are genetically hardwired to do that because if you expect a man, and we're speaking in generality, I'm not saying there's not a spectrum of how we are, but if you expect a man to pass down the stories, the lineage, the family history, who was at the reunion, who's in this picture from 1948, it is not going to get done. This is unique to women and it is hardwired. Now, to quantify it further, something is actually happening biologically in our body. When women come together, we produce oxytocin. And oxytocin is that beautiful hormone that makes us feel connection and feel love. It's the hormone that you excrete when you birth your baby and you take it in your arms and you're so in love and maybe you weren't even connected in your pregnancy, but all of a sudden you have this baby and you just, oh my God, this is the love of my life. And I couldn't have expected this. That is a flood of oxytocin. And when women come together, they're producing oxytocin. And why this is so important for women, because we're speaking of the biological differences of men and women. One of the main differences is that at the very top of the cascade of hormones that make a woman's body go round is oxytocin. And, in America, we have a big focus on reading into sex hormones, and we're talking about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It's an epidemic, just like adrenal fatigue. And there's a reason. It's because your sex hormones are produced by your adrenals. Once you go through menopause and your gonads or your ovaries turn off as a woman, your adrenals take over for the rest of your life. And we have stressed and stressed and stressed them. And so now we have all of these women that need this hormone replacement therapy, HRT, and it won't solve the problem. I know many women that have done this. They get painful injections where they deposit pellets in their backside and it hurts. They're on the couch for 3 days. They get involved with this. It's very spendy and they come back with a deep regret because that's not the top of the cascade. We can't just focus on these 3 sex hormones in women. We actually have to focus on DHEA, which is a precursor to all of those being produced by the adrenals. We need to focus on insulin and how we're responding to that. But what governs all of those hormones is oxytocin production. So women biologically need oxytocin to regulate their hormones and through their entire system. And wrapped in that package is our ability to mother, to multitask, to carry on traditions and stories and song and dance and all of the things and care for the kids and multitask. It's all happening because of our unique hormonal balance within our body. Men are completely different. Men get a hit of testosterone every 15 to 20 minutes. That's why y'all are invincible. That's why y'all go to war. That's why y'all go to hunt. We can't do that because our adrenals literally cannot handle that burden. And that's a message I always am trying to convey to women. Like, you don't believe me? Well, how come all the women were broken, essentially. We have broken adrenals. We're super duper miserable, but we're just going to keep carrying on. The reality is you're not a man. You do not have a hit of testosterone every 15 minutes, and our needs are very different and very unique. We are yin and yang. We are here to balance each other. We have masculine, we have feminine, and in the masculine, there is no feminine, just like in the moon, there is no sun, or in the night, there is no day. In wrong and right? We have these polarities, and these are two polarities, and they're doing something extremely different. And men are upholding all of this hard work and this labor, and they can spend a lot of time in solitude. It would make sense if you had to hunt and you had to be very quiet and there was no communication. But when the women are all at home together, they're carrying on their part. So that's my contribution.
Actually, I call Olivia's mum the mayor, not only of the family, but the mayor of the village, because her family is one of the original families in the village. So everyone kind of uses this as a central base. And all of those ladies know everything that's going on. And it's not in a bad way. It's not like gossiping about each other. It's just that they know what's happening in different people's families and who's going off to college and who's getting married, who's facing some difficulties. The reason for that is because they're all supporting each other. If someone's going off to college, then they'll go give a hongbao, like a red envelope, and make sure they've got enough to support them financially to get started. If someone's going through sickness or in hospital, oh my goodness, like the outpouring of support and care and money for that family that's going through that is unbelievable. And it's all circling around. All our energy is flowing, energy and love is flowing around, treating the village as a community, not as just individual people. And I think that's what I really love and appreciate about it.
Yeah, if you pull all of those women together, and say some woman is having a difficult time with menopause, for instance, she's having hot flashes, some of those women are going to be very familiar with what is in nature, and the language of this culture is hot heat. Oh, we need to give her something cool. Don't serve her any hot soup right now. She's struggling with hot flashes. And also let's put her in a cold bath or a cold river at night, and we'll give her the cooling broth instead. So yes, there is still a place, like, to come back to the menopause question, like there's a place, but again, it's found in the wisdom of nature and our connection to our body. And clearly we're uncovering this connection between women and how we pull that wisdom, and we know, or we divinely channel it, or we experience it ourselves. We have an experience, we drink something cool. We're going to tell all of our girlfriends, hey, did you know when you're having a hot flash, if you take a cool bath and have something cool, that rectifies the problem?
The discovery call is about identifying what is it, the problem, what is it they need help with, because a lot of people's health is so complex. And what is it, the goal? What is it that they want to achieve by working with me? Because sometimes I often get people communicating with me and booking in for a call, and really all they think they need is help with their diet. But my services are about really taking that deep dive into understand what's causing all of the issues, and getting them to understand, well, what is it they want to prioritize, because they have to be prepared to invest time and money and effort into working together, because this is a teamwork. It's a collaboration. It's that I provide my knowledge and they provide the time and effort. And I'm really open and honest with clients. If I think that I know someone, I work in conjunction, have a lot of connections with a lot of other different practitioners. If their problem is not my area of interest, or it's not my area of specialty, I'll refer them on. So it's about finding them, identifying what is it I can help them with, and if I can't, referring them on to somebody else, and then if I can help them.
Well, actually, today I just really want to thank Mary-Anne. I feel like we just covered so much. I don't know if anybody can handle any more golden nuggets, because this was a really valuable conversation. It was wonderful to talk with you, Mary-Anne.
There's very few people that I get to have these really open and honest conversations about the needs of women. I think there's a lot of men that get it underneath, but they don't want to actively admit that us women are unique. And if we are given our own space and our own ability to fill our own cup, that we can be the most amazing human beings. We're just so busy so busy focusing on all the things that we need to do that we don't often fill our own cup.
Today we talked about the power of self-advocacy, busting some
Good.
health myths, talking about some differences between men and women, and some practical steps for lifelong vitality. If you found value today, please subscribe, like, and share.